So, welcome everyone to another broadcast with Women's Prosperity Network. I'm so pleased that you decided to join in. And today's conversation is with my dear friend, Daryl Gurney. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Trish Carr, one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network. And I know that most everyone here on this webinar and watching the replay has heard of Women's Prosperity Network because you somehow got in here. But you don't know the fabulous Daryl Gurney. And I really want to, today we're going to be talking about how to take, I love the expression, a back 40 approach to a radical 2021. And Daryl is, I have a bio for Daryl, but Daryl, we go way back, it feels like, doesn't it? I mean, even though it's only been 4 years, I think, since we were
Feels like
together.
40.
I know, it feels like 40. Daryl and I and Daryl's beautiful wife, Alexandra Levin, we met 4 years ago on a project called the 30 Voices, right? And it was the first time I'd ever been in this amazing, it was an amazing experience of 30 different people who are all about making a difference in the world and in other people's lives and in our families and in our communities, coming together for masterminding, pushing our own boundaries. We did some really radical stuff there as well. And that's where I met Daryl and Alexandra. And, I have a bio here about you, and I can tell everybody that you are the founder of Career Guy, where you support professionals in their career transition and entrepreneurial and business expansion. And you're also the founder of the Back 40, which is really where we're going to spend our time talking about today. And the Back 40, you'll learn all about it, but basically it's about promoting the second half of your life as the best half of your life. No matter where you are in life, it's the next half. My brother-in-law always used to say, when middle age is? About 5 years after whatever age you are now, right? Whether you're 40, you think it's 45. Whether you're 35, you think it's 40. So it's about taking that and growing that. But let me tell you, I can tell you all about how Daryl makes a difference in business. But one of the things that I will never forget when I met you in Alexandra, I think you were kind of new in your relationship. If that's,
Fair, yeah, a few years in, yeah,
oh, you were even a few years in at that point.
yeah,
So
yeah.
interestingly enough, what I loved about Daryl was the way he treated his woman. He was attentive, he listened, he couldn't get enough of her. I mean, in terms of holding her hand everywhere we went, we would always goof to both of them to get a room, which was great, right? So I just, I fell in love with the two of you, and I so respected your relationship, and it was really what drew me to you. And since then, I've been lucky enough to do your program, work with you on different projects. Alexandra has stayed with me at my home. And I just think that the two of you are making such a huge difference for so many people. And I'm so thrilled to have you here with me today. Thanks for
Thank you,
being
Trish.
here.
We look back at that particular time 4 years ago as being like one of the best blessings that ever had happened to us with the relationship with you. And that there were other folks there that we all met that it's just like, wow, when you get with a crowd of people who are committed to having their voice, on what they're up to out there, it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. So that's when I was first exposed to the Back 40. And I remember one of the things that we had to do was we had to do a 10-minute talk. And you started your talk by saying, you have yet to do what you came here to do, which was a bold statement to say in front of these people who all of us believed we're on our purpose, we're on our mission. And that's when I first learned about the Back 40. So can you tell me a little bit about, so what is the Back 40?
Sure. So the Back 40 is, well, it's a movement that we are excited to bring out. It's also an upcoming book. But the Back 40 is actually a double entendre, and it refers number one, if you watched Dallas in the old days, to that back 40 acres of uncultivated land that has infinite growth potential. So we use that as a metaphor for the second half of life. And we basically say that the second half of life is actually what we're here for. And it kind of goes against what society says. To a great degree, society says when you're at 40, 50, or 60, your best is going to kind of be behind you. Your best
Right.
career, your best creativity, your best relationships, your best hot sex, all of that. And what we say is, well, what if that's BS? What if that's just a belief system? And what if, rather than a down and out model, life is an up and out model? What if your biggest game is yet to come? And that's the back 40. And, the back 40 can start with someone at any time. That's just how we're playing off of
My
it.
phone, sorry about that.
No problem. One of the, how it, what it's really based on is a premise that what if your first half of life was simply R&D? What if it was just research and development for who you came here to be and what you came here to do? And again, that flies in the face of generally accepted societal wisdom, which says you should be making it by the time you're 40, or you should, have it all together and everything. And, maybe some folks do. Some folks do get on purpose and they're off like a rocket. I find in my work with people around careers, around people in business, and things like that, is that there's this thing that they call midlife crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We call it midlife opportunity. We actually say, when you get there, that's the point. It's at that midpoint where you can actually look back and look at the R&D that you've done. It's kind of a funny idea that what if we're just running lab experiments? What if that first marriage was a lab experiment? What if that first career was a lab experiment? What if some of those horrible things that actually happen to us, that people have? And it's not to make light of them, but what if all of those lab experiments actually, if looked at from a back 40 perspective, what if they have clues and formulas telling us who we actually came here to be and what we came here to do? And then in assessing that, then the biggest game is always yet to come. We're always becoming more and more of who we came here to be.
Yeah, I so love that, because when I look back, Donna just wrote in the chat that 76 is the new midlife. It all depends on your perspective in life, doesn't it? Women's Prosperity Network didn't happen until my late 40s. I'd had a whole corporate career prior to that, and that was not what I was here for. That was not.
But it was your R&D, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, because it gave me tools and knowledge and life lessons that I needed for this next part of my life. So I love what you're saying. And, when you think about it, a lot of people, you just mentioned that not everything is great. I remember your story when you were 40.
Yeah.
That's another reason that I was really in you. I loved you because what you did to overcome. Can you share a little bit about the impetus of this for you?
Sure. And, it's funny. I even noticed when you said your story and I went, yeah. But the truth is, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And see, that's the whole twist of all this midlife crisis stuff, like that and everything else. If we can look, if there's a way to look at things as being the best thing that ever happened to us, we're not a victim to anything. And there's seeds in those things that happen, that just like you talked about being in corporate, that can point us to, what we came here to do. So God, I think it was like November 23rd of 2002. It was 11:45 p.m. at night. And I was watching my son sleeping in my bed because my parents were downstairs sleeping in his bed. because they had come into town to lend me emotional, spiritual, and mostly financial support in a $500,000 custody suit. And so I was, in that moment at 40, feeling like the biggest loser.
Yeah.
I was going through a career change. I was deeply in debt. And I was at this real nexus crux point of this whole $500,000 custody suit where I was, fighting to maintain half custody of my son. What hit me, and I just call it a download, voice, whatever you want to call it, but something occurred to me at that lowest point, and it said, what if you're exactly where you're supposed to be? What if everything up to this point has been perfect and a laboratory for you to now be who you came here to be and do what you came here to do? What if there's been no mistakes? What if it's all perfect? And I have to tell you that at that moment, at lowest point for me, I was in tears, because the idea that, at 40 with all that going on, I wasn't washed up. The idea that I had done my work and I'd done what I was supposed to do to now go forth with it. So that's where the idea of the Back 40 came from, and it inspired me, and it led me through 10 more years of R&D, getting out of debt and all that kind of stuff, and other relationships. And actually, you mentioned my lovely wife, Alexandra. She actually came into my life because of this. She was in a reading group for the initial manuscript of the Back 40. And through doing some of the exercises, actually analyzing her past in a different way and recontextualizing it, she actually had her own breakthrough, and she came into my life. So it's benefited me a lot.
Yeah, well, and it's there you were at the worst time of your life, and yet somehow, some way, you were able to see that, okay, this is the impetus. All this happened for a reason, and look at everything that's happened to you since. And I think about, as we're in this time and this space in 2020, and I was just talking with somebody recently, today, an hour ago, who was telling me that her business has taken a 75% hit. She's got to move out of their current location, and how challenging it's been. So it's so easy to fall into the victimhood of that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you think about COVID and what's happening there, how do you take the Back 40 approach for a radical 2021 and not fall into that victimhood?
Yeah. Well, we actually, in the first couple chapters of the Back 40, the book, it's about embracing your past and embracing your present. Because for the most part, all of us, even folks who write a book like this, me, all of us can at times feel that we're we're victimized by something. We're at the effect of something. And here's the deal. That's natural.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to lose 75% of their business. Nobody wants to, they love their kids, but nobody wants to be, almost ready to, go crazy with their kids at home, as they're pursuing their studies. Nobody would have necessarily chose this consciously. And yet, and again, this isn't going to be a panacea here, but when anything has you in its victim clause, you have no power. There's just no power. You have no say over anything. However, if there's a way to go about putting yourself in power by putting yourself in the front of whatever's going on versus at the effect of it. For example, let me just ask you, Trish, you wouldn't have wanted this to come about, this COVID thing, right?
No,
It
it
affected you
certainly
in
wouldn't be
huge
my
ways.
choice.
Yeah, well, you don't get to go to your chapters and do all the stuff that you've done forever, right?
Right.
Let me ask you though. So we know all of that, but let's look for a moment and let's dig for a moment. Let's look to see what blessings have come out of this for you.
Mm.
Tell me, I mean, have any blessings come out of it? What?
Yeah, absolutely. In my personal life, my relationship with my husband is better than ever. And part of that is because in the first few months, I mean, the first month we didn't even leave the house, right? And then we started to move outside the house a little bit more. But we made a decision that we were going to make the best of it and not because everybody's saying, oh, this is the biggest divorces are going to happen this year because everybody's locked down together. And we were like, no, that's not going to happen to us. So we actually rekindled. We're back to what I was saying about you and Alexandra. You know, we're touching, we need a room wherever we go, that kind of thing. So it's been number one in my personal relationship with my husband. Number two, even though we've had to pivot, you know, you hear that word all the time in business, we were already doing enough online that we were very comfortable with it, knew how to do it, and we could go from the get-go and just add more online. And when we did that, people got so much more comfortable with it, we've actually grown more than we expected to. So while I miss being able to hug people in person, there's something to be said to the frequency that we've created with people being able to connect online. So those two things right there. I mean, business certainly took a financial hit, but we've done everything we can to continue to support the community and to grow the community and make better connections and do all the things that we're really here to do.
Yeah. And you know, when you talked about you and Dan rekindled, let me just ask you something. Did you rekindle or did you find a new level of relationship
Yeah,
even after having been together this many years?
we did.
So
Yeah,
not even a rekindle, but a new expression, right?
yeah,
So here's the, you know, and it's a, there's some pretty detailed exercises that take you through a process like this, but when you can start looking at the blessings of an untoward event, you know, some situation, circumstance, and many of us have those in our past when we were growing up, things that happened in our teen years, 20s, whatever, things that we feel to this day affected us and limited us in some way, right? We
yeah,
still feel to some degree we're a victim of them. So if you can start to get in front of it, and you can start looking right now at this last year of COVID, you have this elevated relationship with your husband beyond what it's ever been before. You have broken through to a new level of online, you know, which is everything's going that way. We've all resisted it, right?
right.
But the point being is, it's just a shift that has you not be so much at effect. In other words, when you can shift your thinking, like what if everything that happens is perfect? It may suck in the moment, but if I have a way of analyzing it to see what my greater self-expression is out of it. And you know, I'm not you know, I feel for your, you know, member who's lost 75% of her business. Here's the kicker though. What if there's something else that she really came here to do
Yes.
that she will not tap into? A new form of self-expression for her, a new way of looking at life, living life, whatever. Whenever we do our, we used to do live, well, not used to, we did a couple live programs when we first brought this out, and then we've been focusing on bringing out the book. But you know, at the end of our live programs, we will ask questions like, who am I? And then we'll describe someone. For example, 70 years old, crippled with arthritis in her hands, she could no longer pick in cotton in the fields. Therefore, she picked up a paintbrush and within the next 15 years produced 1,000 paintings. Who am I? Grandma
Grandma
Moses.
Moses.
And there's just so many stories like that. So again, it's not to minimize the stuff that happens. It's a back 40 approach to 2020 is to look at it from the point of view like, and it's just a mind game. If I created this, If I did, why did I create it? What is my greater self-expression? What are my greater gifts? What are my greater directions coming out of this?
Yeah. People need you more now than ever because that's exactly what this person I was talking about with the 75% difference. I mean, I can tell you about other members who, when they took that path, when they said to themselves, what are my gifts and talents? What can I create? I'm responsible for everything that happens in my life. They were able to, one was an event planner and she did events. That's what she did, was live events. And what she looked at was she found that everything she did to put those events on, she could show other people how to do and how to market online, how to use social media. So she's expanded into that area and still is thriving, even though she can't do the live in-person events. So
Well,
those are the questions you want to ask yourself, right?
yeah, yeah. In the book is the title of the book is The Back 47 Essential Embraces to Launch Life's Radical Second Half. And so, as I said, in embrace number 1 and 2, we're looking at your past and your present so that you're no longer a victim to them. What you're talking about is embrace number 3, which is your gifts. And your gifts rarely came from what you studied or that trade school or those skills that you learned early in life. Your gifts came from the school of hard knocks. Your gifts came from the school of life. And so when at a midlife or later point, you want to consider that your biggest game is ahead, then doing an inventory of what those gifts are that you've picked up that you may not even think about because it's just so natural.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, the 7 embraces, I mean, this is the strategy, this is the methodology. And I remember you shared with me an interview that we did together from like 3 years ago. And I watched that video again. And one of the things I was talking about there was that one of the keys to my own success was that I sought out growth. I paid for transformational programs. I bought books and actually read them and worked through them so that I could get better and better and better. And I said, and here you are, Daryl, with the answer to so many things. And you corrected me and you said, I don't have the answer, but I have the methodology. And it's about having a method for you to be able to create your life the way you want your life to be, and to literally use everything up until this point as research and development. So share a little more about the embraces. The first one you said was your past, then your present, and now your gifts. What comes next in
Then
your
your value.
methodology? Your
Sure. Then
values.
it's important to embrace your values because your values are very different now than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now, look, Trish, you and I and some of your wonderful members that are on with us here and those will be listening, you know, they've taken on personal growth. That's why they're a part of your group. The thing is, though, is that a lot of times people don't really think like, how have my values changed? And they're operating with obsolete values. And I'll tell you what, one of the exercises in that chapter is, okay, you're going to croak in 3 years. Let's just take it on. You're going to croak in 3 years. What do you regret right now? And what will you change? And, it's hard maybe for someone to really take it on that I'm going to be out of here in 3 years. But, you hear stories from people with the heart attacks and those signs that come to us when we don't do our own internal work.
Right.
And they have a new view on life, right? So your values is something to embrace. Embrace number 5 is your initiation. So that is a playful way we look at midlife crisis. So if everything up to this point has prepared you, a lot of times the big stuff comes in the middle. I mean, stuff comes to people in all times in life, but we really notice that stuff that comes in the middle, the divorces, the major career change, the big health challenges, all this
Right.
stuff that hits around midlife, right?
Right.
So taking it on rather than as a crisis to take you down. You and I both know people, Trish, that are still living at the effect of him leaving, or him
Yes.
going with the younger gal, or,
Yes.
all of that, right? But in other words, if you look at it as your initiation for who you came here to be, then that's not going to be holding you back. That's making you look forward to see what is my greater self-expression. And then embrace number 6 is your purpose. You know, every person on the planet, to some degree wants to feel that, right? And there's a lot of pressure around finding my purpose.
Hmm.
And what I create in that chapter is more of a playful way to go about it. I call it purposeful practice. Purposeful practice, like playing with it, taking all these things. And again, once you've gone through the first 5 embraces, you see the laboratories of your life in a whole other way. You see your self-expression directives that came out of those. And then with that, you can start playing purpose, playing for joy, playing for fulfillment with who you are now. And, the joke, I think, is that people will look for purpose like that one piece of the puzzle. You ever work with a jigsaw puzzle and it's
Yeah.
like, gotta find that one piece. But rather than focusing on that one piece, how about take all the pieces you have and start putting those together? And guess what? The picture starts to form. And maybe that one piece does show up or it doesn't, but you've got a picture going there.
Perfect analogy there. Perfect analogy.
And
When
then
you take
embrace
it
number
right in front
7.
of you.
Yeah, exactly. And embrace number 7 is a presence. And we all relate to that in the way we relate to it. This has no religious connotation. It does have a spiritual connotation, though, in the sense that having something beneath your wings, being in touch, and so that something can be moving through you in your purposeful practice. So that chapter is really just full of ways that we can make ourselves available for something to use us, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's lots and lots of different practices and things that I list in there, just to make yourself more available for something to tap in.
I love, even the first exercise you just did with me is looking at what blessings do you have. If we would do more of that, it would make everything in our lives much easier, much easier. I am really excited about getting my copy of the book. I ordered it. And I also saw that you were giving away a lot of other things with it. So I was pretty excited about that. One of them is a program that I did with you a couple of years ago. And that program really helped me to, what was it called? Renew program?
Yeah, a back 40 renew all. Yeah.
Renew all, yeah. And it helped me to focus on the next area. I think it was 2 years ago. And 2 years ago was when Women's Prosperity Network, so I took it on for my business, right? And we were going through, what do we do next? What's, okay, here we are, what now? And a lot of us feel that way. Okay, we've reached a particular pinnacle, we've reached our goals, what's next? And what it did was really help me and us as a team to figure out how we could take the best of what we did up until that point and create something new. And I have to tell you that in the last couple of years, even before COVID, we made some decisions about how we were going to do our in-person events, and all of that just made what I was doing richer for me, and I think for members as well. Excuse me. So I'm really excited that you're giving away that program. What else do you get when you order your book? Because I went through it so fast and I just put in my PayPal and I was like, I'm going to get it.
Well, every person who purchases or pre-orders the book will be coming out in the new year. But even before you get the book, we're going to be offering opportunities, to engage and really get involved in this mindset and these methods. And one of them is going to be a 3-part masterclass that'll be coming up at the beginning of the year. So everyone who pre-orders a book will get that free 3-part masterclass. if people would like to do a makeover and spend some time with me directly, I've got free coaching in there. And I say free because all of the bonuses are totally free. It's just multiples of the price of the pre-order of the book. So someone can order 10 books and get coaching with me and 5 Renew All programs to hand out to their friends. And, it's just a lot of opportunities there because we really want to support the message, as you said, at a time when people, we believe, can use it most.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to put in the chat the information on where to get the book. And I'll do that on the Facebook pages as well. But I'll tell you, it's an easy bit.ly. You want to get the book. It's 7 Essential Embraces to Launch Life's Radical Second Half. And again, no matter where you are in life, it's your next half is coming, right? You get 2 acts, the beginning and the end. And so I put it in there, but the bit.ly is bit.ly/back40 book, written out, back40, FORTY book, all one word. It's so funny in the chat. Raksha made a point. She said, I'm so focused on the block holding me back that I'm missing being in the flow, right? It's about getting in the flow, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and we all have our blocks. You cannot live life. I mean, even though we talked about the first half being R&D, guess what? We're doing R&D right now too, Trish. You'll never stop doing R&D. It's just whether you can become conscious of it and take the directives out of it live in the flesh in real time versus having it hold you back for 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's up to us. I mean, nobody's going to hand us, here's what you do next. Here's the next thing. Here's the introductions that you need and the people you need around you. We've got to take it on ourselves. And that's what it's all about. So I urge all of you to get a copy of this book because, like I said, I've known Daryl for a while now, and I have learned so much that have helped me to learn myself, who I am, what I'm about, what is the difference I'm supposed to make, and how can I do it all and be happy doing it all, right? And have peace and prosperity at the same time. So I urge you to get a copy of the book. Again, it's bit.ly/back40 book. You were going to say.
Can I do something? And I haven't done this. That we put out the pre-order campaign just a few days ago, and a couple weeks left on it. But here's what I want to do for you because I appreciate our relationship, Trish. If anyone hears this, the folks who are on now or hears this, and pre-orders that book during this campaign and just emails me. It's easy to email me, Daryl@theback40.com. Let me know that you heard about it on this this meeting with you. I don't know what to call it, meeting, interview, whatever. But I'm going to double the bonuses. So if somebody orders the option that gives them a free coaching session with me, they get 2 free coaching sessions with me. They order an option that gives them 5 of the Renew All programs to give away to friends, they'll get 10. So anyhow, I'm just going to put that out there. I'm going to double the bonuses for anyone from your lovely, awesome tribe.
Thank you. And I just put that in the chat as well, your email address, Daryl, 2 R's, 2 L's. Because, there's Daryl and there's Daryl and there's Daryl, and it could be any of those spellings.
Some don't spell it right. Yeah.
Right. Just got the double barrel, Donna says. Really. So it is about who you are, what you're here to do, and making it happen for yourself. So I'm so glad that all of you took the time to be here live on Facebook, as well as be here on the webinar. Some of you I know are watching on the replay. Daryl, what would you like to leave people with as we close out our conversation today?
A wise person once said to me that you can look at life 2 ways. You can look at it like you are at the effect, or you can look at it like you're at cause. Neither one of them are true, okay? There is no truth, right? But you're going to live based on one or the other. And everybody has that choice to make. If you live at the effect, you have no say, and the world and situations and events blow you around in the wind. If you take on living from the point of view and play with the point of view that you have something to say about it, past, present, or future, there's power available. And that's what the Back 40 and this movement is about, is putting us in power to create 2021 and the next half, second half, best half of our life.
Amen. Amen. I'm so glad that you were here. Thank you for sharing with my group of fabulous people what they can do to take on the second half of their life. And make sure you get your book, The Back 47 Essential Embraces to Launch Life's Radical Second Half. And again, that's at bit.ly/back40book. Daryl Gurney, I love you. I appreciate you.
Love you, Trish.
Thank you for being the light that you are for people every single day.
Thank you, Trish. Thanks for all you do. I have a special place in my heart for empowering women, and I just love your world that you've created, and I love who you are. And Alexandra would be all over that too, because we're your biggest fans.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for being with us today. Trish Carr from Women's Prosperity Network. I'll see you again next time. Have a fantastic day.